Everybody, I have a interview today with Nicole Fazio, who is a voice actor and a on-screen actor. So we're going to talk today about how to build a business with voice acting and just talk about what she's gone through to get to where she is as a voice actor. So Nicole, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for
Good,
having
good.
me, Paul.
So let's get right started. Let's jump right into it, because I think my channel is about showing how I'm building my business and showing people what I'm doing to advance my business through this YouTube channel and also through a blog. So let's start right off. A lot of people talk about breaking into the voiceover business with that one big job, and if my agent would only get me that one big job. So let's talk about kind of business 101. What are your thoughts about having a breakthrough job, or just having a system in place to set up your career? What do you think about that?
Well, what I think about that breakthrough job is it's a fantasy.
Right.
It's a myth. And what I think about you is that you're a stud because you had like no problem approaching me.
Right.
And business 101 is if you can't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
Right.
Like if you're in sales, after the whole pitch, you have to be able to look somebody down the barrel of their face and just be like, after everything that I've told you, can you find any reason not to give me this sale?
Right.
When I was 16 years old, there was this place called Safeway. It's a grocery store here in Washington, where I'm from. And they had these positions called courtesy clerks, and you would bag groceries. And a couple of my girlfriends had already gotten a job there because they were a little bit older than me. So as soon as I turned 16 years old, I was like a pogo stick in my mom's car, like, you got to take me to Safeway. And I just walked right in there, and I was like, hey, I'm Nicole Fazio, and my girlfriend so-and-so, my girlfriend so-and-so, they work here, and I want to work here. Please give me an application. And as soon as I got the application, I filled it out right there. Like I brought like, not just like one pen, but 2 pens. And then I was like, can you see any reason why I can't start later today? And then when they looked at me, I said, I have on my blacks and I have the shoe. Cause I already, with a flash of a thought, I figured out, what are they wearing? Like, what's the wardrobe? Like, what's the scene? And I think that what you are in your life, you are in your work. So if you're like, not pursuing personal relationships with people, because we've never met each other before, except for right now, right?
Right.
Have we ever, no.
No, just briefly talked on the phone.
Yeah, like for a second, because I don't know what I'm doing with technology, and so you have to rescue me. But like, when it comes down to it, it's really that simple. But people don't want to hear that. They want to hear about how you went whitewater rafting on the Nile, and I've done that, and climb Mount Rainier, and I've done that, and then all of a sudden you windsailed into, I haven't done that because I don't know what windsailing is, but it's actually down in Oregon, they do that on the river. But I haven't done that. But what I have always done is never been too busy for people. And I think what's going on in social media is we have a real problem, because no one's connecting. Now, every time I say something out of one side of my mouth, it's going to contradict itself. So just like, please give me grace.
Yeah,
but it works with this. But for the most part, you're eliminating the local. And I really feel like building any business, it has to start with a seed. And I think that one thing I've really been immaculate at is not neglecting the size of the seed. And it's really easy to get into the trap of, this isn't big enough, this isn't good enough, I'm beyond that, or whatever we do, because we're all maniacs. But I think that business 101 is asking for the gig, being physically present in a local place to be able to do that, and just being better than everybody else by not focusing on them, but just knowing what you have access to and delivering it. It's about being yourself. And I think that one thing that you have to realize in business, like in life, not everyone's going to like you. And so I think a lot of people are operating out of, you must love me. And that's going to be a real problem, because then you're not being yourself, because you're watching yourself for that one person that is doing the easiest thing in the world, and that's to find something wrong with you. We all are imperfect.
Right.
And so the easiest thing to do
Mm-hmm.
is like latch on to how you're better than somebody, how
Right.
I don't know that, you know, and that's just a part of yourself you don't see. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's kind of it. And I know that that sounds really ridiculous, but to get into voiceovers, I grew up on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would see my neighbors, it's about watching, you know, it's just about just simple things. I would see them sweeping their barn because there's like two daughters that were older than me, and our fences kind of, our lands met up and down at the barns, and they had the hay barn, we had the milking barn. It was this huge dairy farm. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to sweep. So I get my dad's brooms and I wanted the bigger broom, or I wanted, and it wasn't because I was trying to be better than them. I just was activated by that. And I think if you don't have that natural like bite or drive,
Right.
voiceovers especially is not your jam.
Right.
Because everyone that I know that's super successful at it, they are able to start from a place of not knowing what they're doing and just win.
Right.
And how you win every single day is you fail all the time and you're not even focused on that. It's trial and error. And people are looking for this really big thing. They think it's going to be the key to their destiny, but the key to your destiny is begging groceries. It's barn floors. Because that's passion. That's a passion test.
Yeah.
If you're really passionate about something.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, because I think a lot of people are trying to prepare until they're really ready for the big job, but they just never end up starting. So I think one of the most important things is just starting. So with you on Twitter, I reached out to you. Hey, would you like to interview? You were nice enough to say yes. So here we are. So it's just, that's a very small example of just put yourself out there and ask for something. And most likely people are the same everywhere. So they're going to respond if you have to take that first action. So it really makes a lot of sense in terms of a business, because voiceover is, you're never going to get that national job if you don't start doing something, you know, something little to build up to it. Makes so much sense.
But that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to shine my light on you and say what you did wasn't little. That's what you do. You just have to keep doing it.
Right.
And I think what happens is sometimes you meet people that aren't open. They're better than all of us. You know, what are we going to say? I mean, I'm not as good as they are. And so like, they're not available. So don't build your business with those people.
Yeah.
Because if they're naughty like that and they're like way too busy for you, you know, then they're going to make excuses when you work together.
Right.
You know, you don't want to work with people like that.
Right.
Like my philosophy with business and life is I'm no better and no worse than anyone else. And I think that what you're talking about is, it's about using what's in your hand. Unfortunately, especially since we're all connected, you know, especially with the internet, I think it's really, really easy to look outside of your hand and be like, okay, I want that, and I want that, and I want that. We see something that someone else has, and then we want that, or how come we don't have that, or how come that hasn't happened for me yet, or and that's not something you can control. And that's really dangerous. That's why instead of working online, I'll work online to bless people. I'll work online to empower them. I'll work online to expose a lot of people that everyone thinks are really into voiceovers that haven't booked a job in a long, long time, but now they have their own podcast. I'm not going to talk to those people.
Right.
Or they teach voiceovers. Great. So you're out of work.
But
But I'm going to come to you to learn how to get better about booking work. That's gonna be helpful. And I find that you have to have common sense. And people don't want to have common sense because they want that big breakthrough. And how I got that big breakthrough was I copied some sheet music at the University of Puget Sound in the north end of Tacoma for this little song called Wouldn't It Be Lovely? And I auditioned for a local play that I found in the paper of the Peninsula Gateway in Gig Harbor, Washington, and I got cast in Quilters.
Oh, cool.
And, you know, that was a free acting class. I was with all of these amazing women, generations of them that had been in theater. And, you know, that was the beginning for me. And I think that people neglect those small seeds or those days of small beginnings, but I never did, because I was so excited to work as an actor in any capacity, that it was like that Meryl Streep adjustment. I get to give up one of my kids today. You know what I mean? Like I get to dance for 5 hours and I'm going to be dripping with sweat.
Right.
You know, I remember this one time we did this show called Pirates of Penzance, and we're up in the dance studio because we did it outside in the meadow. And like, I have goosebumps over my whole entire body. It makes me very emotional because we were going around in this circle and we were like, I don't know what, like singing the songs and, but doing it well. We weren't like idiots, you know, and it was so special. And I think that people want something that isn't real. And it's in those moments of really, really common hours that you get those big breakthroughs, because you learn how to rehearse. You learn how, and people will say all day long with voiceovers, oh, I don't rehearse, I just cold read. Once again, I'm so glad that you're a lot better than me.
Yeah.
I work every single day. I make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I am always 100% taking notes. These are notes for today. I am always, you know, thinking about the work. And if nobody else wants to, or they don't need to, that's okay. You're just talking to me. So what I do is I don't take anything for granted. And I think a lot of people, they eliminate, for a lot of different reasons, a lot of the steps that it takes to get to that big break. And so by the time there's this thing here, it's called Strong Words. It came out, I like to work out. I work out a lot. And there's this gym in Salt Lake, and it's called, what's it called? Bodybuilders, whatever gym. And so there's this really neat guy, Larry, and he's like actually a big deal. Of course he is. I didn't know that, you know, because I'm really naive. And that's another thing. Don't be friends with people and network with people to get something from them. Authentically know them, and then just like let your jaw drop when you're like in Capitol Records, like I was a few weeks ago, and I'm like shooting this movie, and I look around everybody and I go, is everyone here famous except for me? Like, be in that place of wonder and work from that place, because it is something that really keeps you open. And it keeps people wanting to connect with you. And that's the key. People eliminate a lot of steps. And those steps in between are called people. Right. We need each other. And because I have been trained by a lot of really, really phenomenal people. I've got to sit in an acting class between Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau when Uta Hagen was still alive. I've gotten to work with Placido Domingo at the LA Opera. I just shot a movie earlier with Shirley MacLaine, and even though they may be tiny parts and they're cut out and everyone's like, she's a liar, great. No one can take away from me when she looked up at me with those beautiful blue eyes and said, hi, Nicole. And I was like, so it's like, you know, I think people think that, you know, well, if I can just get butt dance and abs, and if I can just, you know, take this person's workshop and fly into this conference for Voices Huda or Hee, insert the, you know, placeholder city in America or wherever, you know, and if I can just become friends with her, and if I just it's really sad, because I mentor people, and I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying it because it always proves me right. Right. For example, I'll work with somebody and they have taken a workshop from someone that's a really big person on Twitter and voiceover. And that really big person on Twitter and voiceovers is a really small person that says the most horrible things to this other person that I'm mentoring after they took thousands of their dollars. Right. And it's really interesting, because if you just take the time and get to know somebody, that person that they rejected is amazing. Right. But that person that's taking their money because they're not making money in voiceovers, and that person that doesn't know what they don't know, that money is paying their mortgage. Yeah. It's unacceptable to me. And so I think it's always really, really important to be a valuable player in the community, because there's this little principle, and it's called sowing and reaping. And there's this little thing called seed, time, and harvest. Right. And the only reason that I have been on television for 15 years and no one knows who I am is because I do what I'm doing with you. Right. Locally. And so what happens is people always remember me. And And they always come back to me.
Yeah.
And I have this little basket of beautiful people that I hadn't worked with for like 2 years. Hey, Nicole, da, da, da. And then a job comes up. Hey,
Right.
Nicole. And it's amazing. Every time I mentor someone for free, like this, like through Skype or on the phone or email, or it's amazing. And this is a complete true thing. I will get an email with a job offer for like $24,000.
Yeah.
And here that person wants to repay me, but you can't outgive God. And so the thing is, if you care about people in a real way, what happens is that conversational read takes care of itself, because instead of being someone that's just reading, you're talking to somebody.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a simple shift. And you told me that you were taking some acting classes. And so how that impacted your voiceover work?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because I'm taking, I think one of the steps to becoming a better voice actor, I had to kind of choose between taking a kind of a one-on-one session with an established voice actor. But I chose to do acting just because every week I have to go to New York, and for 3 hours I have to stand in front of people and act and try to be realistic and conversational, which is what it seems like most voice jobs want you to be. So I have to actually do that and not just stand right here in front of this microphone and try to be real. So I think the carryover to my auditions has been really helpful. And it's much easier to just talk to this mic using the strategies that I've learned in the acting class. One of the strategies is I have a partner to work with. So my microphone is my partner in the studio. But in the acting class, it's just before you start reading the script, just start talking about something in your life, anything, and just have a conversation with that person. And then the teacher will say, okay, now go into the script. So it really helps with learning the levels of your voice and learning that when you try to talk and read a script and you're like, hello, I am here, it's not a real sound, you know? So we talk much lower, we talk in a normal pace. So it really has helped. So do you think, you said you started with stage acting, right?
I did. And I want to talk about stage acting, but can I praise something that you're just doing organically?
Sure.
If you're to study with a voice actor and they're good and well-trained like me, because I've worked with the best people, I'm not boasting. I don't know how it happened because I grew up on a dairy farm. So how in the world I've had the favor that has fallen on me, but you know what you are in your life, you are in your work. And if you're a good person, it's amazing how, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Sowing and reaping. And so it may take time. And that's the thing too. It's, I started a long, long time ago, but what you're talking about is called a lead in. And a lot of people have different words for it. So if someone else calls it something else, shoot me. But because it leads you in.
Right.
So I constantly am finding my sources, like who I can talk to, like who I feel really loved by, who I feel very safe by. And changing who you're talking to, like my 97-year-old grandma Gracie, is totally different than if I was talking to my month-and-a-half-year-old great nephew Brody. So and sometimes I'll pick those people because you were talking about pace. And so how I naturally get a smile in my voice, how I naturally can get that rhythm that is conversational and phrase it in a way that's really natural or organic, or how I can really explain something is by who I'm talking to. Because with you, I don't really have to slow down because you get it. Like we're the same, so, but if I'm talking to someone that's a lot older or a lot younger, it's not condescending, but you really want to make sure they understand.
Right.
And you also want it to be really gentle and genuine.
Yes.
So I'm not doing anything different to my voice, but my dog is like snoring these crazy sounds from her body. But see how much more intimate I am?
Right.
Someone else may hear sexy, but I'm actually talking to a baby.
You know
what I mean?
It's just knowing your audience and changing the tone. Basically.
And proximity.
Yeah.
Getting closer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that does a lot. And I think what's really powerful is you decided, I can learn from other people and I'm going to their process and then take what works for me. But as Joe right now, I'm going to get into the city and I am going to create my own process. Right. And so you're leading into your work because this is the first lead in I ever learned in voiceover, by the way. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to drive into summer with a new car? Well, make it happen during the Hyundai Labor Day sales event. And I like how you said that your microphone is your partner. Because I never thought of it that way.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we all have our different way of getting into the work. And I think that whatever you can do to give yourself as much freedom as possible and permission as possible, what we're talking about, it may not work for someone else. They literally may be a badass that can take a copy of a script, never make a mistake, and sound immaculate.
Right.
You know, I like to rehearse. Liza Minnelli, she was really, really sick. And she couldn't walk, and she was in bed, and they spoke some horrible stuff over her life of what was going to be her physical future. And I think it was like on the Ellen show or something. She was like saying, even though she couldn't talk, no. And she wouldn't receive that. And so she kept saying that what was in her mind was, what can I do? What can I do?
Right.
And she thought, I can rehearse. So like going back to like Eliza Doolittle, like in My Fair Lady, back to that, you know, I mean, she retaught herself because that repetition. And I think with anything, you know, it's that repetition and it's doing what you can do. I think a lot of people, they don't do what they could do because like you said, they're waiting. Right. It's like Dr. Seuss, you know, pearls, the better break, a second chance, or whatever it is. Oh, the places you will go. It's like how you go there is you start. Right. And by like going into the city and suiting up and showing up, that's holding you accountable. And what that does is when you do get the opportunity for that big break, you know how to go. Right. You know what I mean? You know how to be in front of people. Right. And you don't just practice and you have to, it's I don't know, like I don't know if I'm making anything that's like, you know, inspirational right now. But
yeah, you are.
What I'm trying to say is there isn't some formula. There isn't some whatever. Yeah, I got the voice of Hyundai. But how I learned how to do voiceovers was on union contracts. Right. And I never took a voiceover class. Yeah. But like I said, 1 second. Nellie, what are you doing? I can't tell if she's like eating her foot off under covers muffled or she's doing a weird high-pitched snore thing. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Nelly! So, like, I think it's really, really important to
just start, right? Like that's, and you were saying how you were talking about before how there are a lot of coaches and voiceover mentors that are teaching but not really working. And I think one of the things that I've thought about as I'm starting up is to do I start a YouTube channel? Do I start a blog? Because I'm not an expert yet. And I just figured, you know what? There are a lot of people who are talking about being an expert and talking to people about how to teach them, but there really weren't any channels or blogs that were talking about the journey of how to get there. So it was kind of like you start out and you look on YouTube, you look on the internet and you see all these great experts and success stories, but it didn't seem like there were stories of how to get there. So then I think that ties into people thinking they have to find one big break because they think, oh, these people must have just gotten that one job. But so I want to just show that I'm obviously not getting these big jobs yet. So I'm just starting, I'm taking an acting class and I'm just talking to people about my journey so far. And I think
those are my favorite people to talk to because it keeps me teachable.
Right.
And the only thing that keeps me relevant is the fact that my dog is distracting me to the highest of the heavens right now. I knew that she was going to do this because she gets so jealous that she has to like figure out a way to like
get your attention.
So I think that what's Nellie Fazio, where are you? She's being naughty.
I love that she has your same last name.
I think that what's really, really important is to know that it's the climb. Like, you know, when I knew I was talking to you today, that like song from Miley Cyrus, it came in. Like I have a musical background. That's kind of how I started off. And yeah. I know a lot of people in voiceovers are also in music and they'll say it's a song or it's a monologue. I think that, you know, if you just get really fascinated by doing the work, like that girl that was in rehearsal for the Pirates of Penzance, and you just love the process, everything, and you're a good person and nice, everything does work out if you position yourself. So you got out of your booth,
right,
and you went in to the city. I think that a lot of people don't realize, because like I can do what you're doing and like, you know, bring this in and I please don't start laughing. I know people are going to freak out right now, and I don't care. I need to, what's that thing called where you get the lint rolls?
Lint brush. Yeah.
I have like a Sennheiser, and it has like lint all over it because I'll put like, I still like will use blankets sometimes if I want this. I mean, I change things, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I have good gear, I like to pretend like, you know, I think it's ghetto. I think that it's important to know that there's no difference between me and you. And as far as I'm concerned, we're equals. That's why I think it can be dangerous to study with someone that's out of work, but they make their living, you know, teaching voiceovers, because they're out of touch. You can only teach what you're currently doing.
Yeah.
I listened to my sound back at my first job, and my sound is totally different than it is now. And it isn't because I've grown and changed. It's because the social climate has changed. It's because the economy has changed. It's because people's needs have changed. How we advertise has changed. So if you're not constantly being teachable, and that's what I like about you, is you have that teachable spirit. And so I like talking to people like you, because I never want to be a know-it-all, because I'm Italian, so I can totally take over, and I like being the boss, and you know, but that doesn't really get you anywhere.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like knowing everything doesn't get you anywhere. It actually eliminates the opportunity for me to change. Like now I'm going to be thinking the whole entire time, and when I go up and teach these voiceover workshops, the microphone is your partner. Like, you know, like I'm going to like totally borrow that from you, and that's why I like talking to somebody that isn't a know-it-all, because you're not afraid to reveal things. And it's in those moments, like in all those play rehearsals, that people would reveal something about themselves, and that's when I could connect it to them. And that's what you could bring to your work. You know, if you can reveal something, it draws people in. And I think that when it comes down to it, it's really not that hard. But one thing that I would do, because I really want to give you some business ideas, I think that if people don't know who you are not. One second, I think I locked her in the bedroom. I'm a horrible mother.
Right.
Nellie, are you in? What's happening, sweet love? What's going on? Oh, I left you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm a horrible, horrible mother. I'm so sorry, Joe.
That's okay.
This is Nellie. Nellie, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello,
yeah,
Nellie.
My mom just neglected me. She put me in there, and now it's so sad. She couldn't get out.
Oh, you locked her in.
Yeah, well, because she's so little, and she's,
Yeah.
One thing that I really do a lot of is if I see a recording studio, I'll pop in. Hey, I'm Nicole Fazio, like the girl from Safeway.
Yeah.
Can I have a tour? Or, be interested in somebody else. Not because you want something from them, but see how they set things up. Oh yeah, I have that microphone. Or what do you think about this one? Or, I don't really hi, it's called being a human being.
Yeah. You're not going in there trying to say, hey, please, can you purchase my voiceovers? And you're just introducing yourself, starting a relationship.
It's called an introduction. Remember? Hi, my name is Nicole Fazio. My friends Stacy Walters and Christine Geiger, they work here, and I'd like to be a courtesy clerk. May I please fill out an application? Who isn't going to love that girl? And so the point is that it goes back to how I got my very first job that wasn't glamorous, but I thought it was. Or those very first plays that I did that I was like, so like, this is it. I never wanted to star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I never wanted to get into voiceovers, but it's amazing how if you just be yourself, you know what I mean? And just try to, connect with people. Udo Hagen used to always say, you have to find ways to connect. And I think that people think that they're doing that in social media, but what it's actually doing is unplugging you from what's in your hand. And that's local. Yeah. So if I was, I'll go down and I'll go to different neighborhoods within my city. I'm like, oh God, I didn't know that was there. Oh, I didn't know that was there. And so there'll be like an icon of like the circle with like the arrow that you press. I'm like, oh, they must do audio. or
Yeah.
oh, this is a post-production studio. And as you know, in voiceovers, like I do ADR, I do looping, I do dubbing, I do commercials, I do campaigns, I do animation, I do video games, I do, a lot of things. And so the reason I say start with something is because it will grow into something else.
Right.
But the only way that it's grown into something else is because I've actually met someone in the field locally that liked me and said, hey, come over here. And I also, if they only wanted to pay me this amount of money, even though I wanted this amount of money, because I wanted it to be my big break, because we're all human beings too. I'm not like perfect. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying it doesn't work.
Right.
And it's not real.
Yeah.
So how those big breaks start is I'll take something that's really, really small, and I will get that small thing because I will put a CD in the mail or a DVD in the mail. And people are like, you send that in the mail? Yeah, I do. You want to know why? No one else does, because you're all good for it, because you're all on Twitter not making any money. Right. And so what I do is I went up to UCLA and I got a Mac computer, and this is before Google, and I Googled a whole bunch of production companies. Yeah. But I was never interested in a big break. I was never interested in another actor's journey. Yeah. I wasn't interested in anything except for building a business, because it's a job. It's show business. Right. Yeah, you have to show them, but you also have to understand the business. It's a two-way street. So I think that this gal, and why did she pick me? She liked pink, like me. My demo was pink. Let me see if I can find a business card I made. Okay. This is basically my business card. I think I've cut it up and done a lot of things to it now because it's changed. But this is my card. And it had my phone number and stuff. Now I've cut it, and I'll do other things to it. You know, or I'll put .com and I'll handwrite it. So when I give this to people, they'll be like, "Oh, you're an artist," or "Oh, you're really creative," or "What's Fazio.com?" "Oh, I do voiceovers." And so, I'm not trying to like put a microphone on there. I mean, not that I haven't evolved that, and not that I don't have a logo with a microphone on it. I'm just, just being yourself is like so interesting, because nobody wants to do that, because they don't think it's enough. That it's not big enough. Yeah, it's really interesting that you're talking about going into production agencies that are local to you, because I think it's hard since we're all connected through the internet and through all these social media platforms, it's really easy to think, okay, my audience and my potential clients are the whole world. But then it's easy to forget about the people right next door. So what I've been doing is I do Google like production agencies, but I've only been cold calling. I haven't really thought about and just trying to introduce myself and say if you're accepting demos, something like that. But I haven't thought about just walking into a studio, because it just seems, I guess, so old fashioned. But you're right. If no one else is doing it, then that's an opportunity to start doing it, because you're going to. What's never old fashioned? A conversation. Exactly. Yeah. And so I grew up in a huge Italian family. My grandma's 97. My great nephew is 6-7 weeks old, maybe 8. Okay. One thing that doesn't go out of style is caring about people. Right. And not expecting anything from them. And that's how you get everything. Yeah. Because if you don't invite someone to a party or go to their party, how do you expect them to come to yours? Right. And I think it's really, especially because as a voice actor, like for me, I have this little studio here. You can set anything up in your house. So I really don't have to leave the room. But then if your whole job as a voice actor is really just talking, you're trying to sell something, but you're talking to people. So I think over time I would forget how to talk to people if I just stay in here. So that's has a lot to do with why I'm trying to go to New York. It's also very, very small. It's also not real. Yeah. I don't work at home. Yeah, I was going to ask you. I go out to those studios. Yeah. And I think it's really, really weird and backwards, because I grew up on a farm. I'm not like famous. I'm not like, loaded. Anything I've had to earn. I paid my way through college. Like if I was going to do anything, if it was going to be, it's up to me. Right. And I always knew that. No one's going to give you anything. You have to go out and get it. Yeah. And people don't want to leave the room. And so people that have never booked a voiceover before, they bought a really expensive microphone. They bought a really expensive program. They don't know how to use. They bought headphones that aren't cheap. They maybe have, like, I have this thing, it's called a Focusrite, and I have this other thing, it's called a PreSonus,
Right.
gear. I got that because it's a tax write-off, and I make enough money that if I don't have a couple of those things to legitimately write off, I'm in trouble. And I like to help people. So if people want to come over to my house, I've always, for years and years and years, just brought people in and helped them with voiceover. And so I think, when I help people with voiceovers, it makes me better. Because now I have to do what I'm telling them to do. Otherwise I would be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And what I'm basically teaching is how to get out of the ditch, because I'm working with different people all the time. And working with people is really, really fun, and gives me goosebumps, but it also pisses me off. And I want to break their nose over the top of my knee and walk out the door. And so you have to figure out how to work with someone that's super difficult. And sometimes I'm the super difficult one.
Yeah.
And people have to give me grace. So when you show up, when you go into New York, when you sow into grace, when you sow into just basic things, because then you have access to those big things. But if you're in this teeny tiny room with this microphone, you're eliminating the opportunity to connect. You're eliminating the opportunity to be in the right place at the right time if you don't show up. And so these home booths is the worst thing that's happened to the voiceover industry, because now there's so many people that don't know what they're doing. And I've always been someone, my mom has always said, Nicole, you were always really, really good at everything. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to boast, because with technology, I suck. That's why I'm always like asking for help. But see, listen, I'm not afraid to show you that I don't know how to do something. And when you're in your own little world, it gets small. And so what happens is, I don't want to show them that I don't know how to do that, or you start overcompensating. You start focusing on so many other thought processes that never bring about liberty. And so then when you read, it's really tight, or all that stuff really affects you. And I think that, how can I say this in a really, really cool way? I think that what people don't realize is that person that called me in because I sent them my demo. Once I sent it, if you recall, I mentioned that I got this computer. People were talking about the internet. I basically used it as a phone book.
Right.
And I thought about who needs what I do? And how do I get great at earning entrance into their worlds? Because I need them. It's called humbling yourself.
Right.
And so it's amazing how the girl that picked this up, like I said, to go back to it, I think it's relevant. Her name was also Nicole.
Oh, okay.
She's pink. So she liked my style. I'll meet casting directors and they're gay. And they'll say that the first thing that we're thinking about when you walk in the room, Nicole, is we're staring at your purse and we're judging your purse. Or like my fingernails, or like that I like the Dodgers, or like, whatever, that I put my collar up like it's 1988. The point is it's like when somebody meets you with a flash of a thought, they are judging you. If you're yourself, and if they're not coming from a hurtful place to judge you in a bad way, they're liking it. Like they like that you like calendar girls that are like framed in bamboo. And when you share yourself by showing up in person, oh, she's really tall, or oh, she always smells good, or oh, people get opportunities to connect to you and see who you are. So I'm kind of boho, but then I'm also really competitive, but then I'm also edgy, but then I'm also, pretty wholesome. So the thing is they get to get these characteristics about who you just are when you fall out of bed, when you show up. And so therefore, then that studio that I walked in and said, hey, show me around here. Hey, Nicole, I remember you came in a couple weeks ago. I have this thing. Can you come and read for it? That girl. Hey, my name is Nicole Erickson, and I'm the producer on this new makeup line. It's called Bare Essentials. Can you come down and read for this? And that turned into a job that lasted over 10 years until I left the party. That's awesome. And so, how you get that big break is by being big enough as a person to not let the small things in life define you. You have to get out of your own way. Get out of your room. You have to engage people. I always think, because I used to be a model, I used to always think that I'm going to inspire the photographer. I was not thinking about how I could look pretty or how I could look sexy. I wanted to figure out, like, people like make love to the camera. That kind of freaked me out. I grew up on a giant farm, like, who makes love to a camera? That's just weird. But what I could do was I could delight myself in that person. And how did I do it? Oh God, they shoot barefoot. That's awesome. Oh, I like their shirt. They probably wore that over and over. And I bet it smells like Tide. Like, I just would see what they were doing and who they were. And I would dive in. My friend Patrick, he runs a theater company, and they're doing Shakespeare right now in the parks and stuff around LA County. And, and he put something on Facebook this morning or last night that I reshared or whatever. And it was something about how he can't wait to go in that world to escape this one for a while. And when you get lost in someone else, it's fun. And when you care about someone else, you become so interesting to everybody else. And so how you get really good pictures is I would just dive into these photographers. And so the same thing when I'm doing a copy, that is the star. I'm not. It's not my voice. And people are like, oh, I love what you did with your voice. And I'm always thinking, what did I do? And if they do a playback and I have to hear it, I'm like, oh, I did that. Because I try to think about things internally versus externally. And I think that when you're thinking about that big break, you're eliminating a lot of things that have to happen inside you for that to even be an option for you to receive. And so Nicole and I would work together, and she just picked me because we had the same name and we both like pink. But if I wouldn't have put my stuff out there, and you could, like, that's 15 years ago, Nicole, when you just graduated from college. And of course, we don't do that anymore. And I mentor people that are 24 years old all day long. And it's like, well, it still works for me. It's like the people that tell me that you have to have big boobs to be a movie star, and the directors that have, told me about all the boob jobs that they're paying for me. And I'm like, well, it worked for Charlize Theron last night. I mean, she won an Academy Award. She's just as flat as I am. So it's like, you have to also get a thick skin. You have to have people crap on your face. You have to have people run you over and drag you behind their truck, because that's also part of the passion test. Okay, when someone treats you like that, how are you going to respond? You know what I mean? And so I think that what happens is, that person that still gave me that job because I sent in my thing, she's still someone that's going to call me or introduce someone else that's going to call me. And another thing that I do, I teach voiceover workshops back where I'm from. Well, Seattle's a big deal. And what people don't understand is Tacoma's a big deal. Every place anyone breathes is a big deal because they're special. And so I don't go around looking for work. It chases me. Blessings hunt me down.
Because you're building those personal connections, right? And I think people are looking for, what's the secret? What do you do, Nicole, to build your business so big? And it's just,
what workshop can I go to? What this, what that? I'll just give you 2 tiny examples of that. And then you can ask specific stuff if I'm speaking too esoteric or too broad.
No, this is perfect.
I'll give you some more really, really easy ideas. I'm trying to bridle my passion, because I think, as you know, I can just really go off to the races. But I was teaching these voiceover workshops. How did I get that job? Okay. Well, I'm from Seattle. I used to work at this really famous restaurant. It's still there. It's called Thank You for Calling the Metropolitan Grill. No, this is Nicole. How can I help you? And when I would do that, I got really into it. And one day, my girlfriend that I went to college with, who got me the job there, that I love very much, because she took me aside because she had it up to here with me. And she was like, you need to calm down. It's not, we're hostesses. And this isn't sustainable. And you're a maniac. And you don't have to put that much into it. We're, but you want to know what? If I'm going to take Kenny Rogers to table 27, you got to know, if I'm taking Cal Ripken and A-Rod to booth 16, if I'm going to see Wesley Snipes, I'm going to do my little tackle that temptation with the time step before. You know what? People would watch me in that restaurant. I was like a kid. I can't believe they let me get away with that, because this was the top steakhouse, the independently owned, like in like the top 5. So
Uh-huh.
like there'd be like Robert De Niro, like having, I'm not name dropping, I'm just
Yeah,
setting.
yeah, that's fine.
Like, Jeff Bezos would come in from Amazon. So how come I was assisting, people at Amazon when it was that hospital on the hill before it was Amazon?
Uh-huh.
Because guess what? Thank you for calling the Metropolitan Bar and Grill. This is Nicole. How may I help you? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, how can I like give these people a great time?
Uh-huh.
How can I? And then there'd be this lady on the phone and she'd be like this, the Metropolitan Bar and Grill located on 2nd and Marion. And I was like, I don't get jealous of people. Like I become their fan. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm an enthusiast. You know what I mean? Like I like everybody. And so the thing is I would watch everything, every single piece of detail, just the way like I would, fold those menus, and Meredith was like, you need to calm down. Like you really need to settle down.
Yeah.
And one day I snapped like a twig and I looked right at her because I'm very graceful, but you have to have a standard.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when I go down to Los Angeles, California, I'm going to be the same way. And if I can't do it here at this front desk with what I have been entrusted with, what's in my hand, how in the world am I ever going to A, get on a set, B, have built up the endurance to go for it for 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't do this, how am I ever going to do that? And how I'm going to get there is by getting great at this.
Right. Whatever you're doing.
People would come in and they'd say, hey, Nicole, can you, because I would always be singing. I'd be like, you'd be so nice to come home to. And there'd be like 500 covers that we're doing at lunch, but we're at the heart of the financial district and everyone's getting a filet mignon. And Bob Mortel, who owned Reagan McKenzie, walks up, hey, Nicole, can you sing at my holiday party? Absolutely. That would be $800. You'd be so nice.
Yeah, but they would never have known that if you didn't act that way during your job. Perfect.
They wouldn't have known what my gifts are. Mm-hmm. And so it's not being a show off. It is giving a demonstration of what you can do.
Right.
But I had to be there. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I'm trying to get at is Joe Torre would call me from the Kingdom. Hey, Nicole, because he'd only talk to Fazio because he's Italian. So he would come in and like, there would be like these rings. They're like this big. Like, no, they're like this big. They're like be these things on his fingers. And they'd be like, holy crap, that's like from the World Series. Who are you? You're Joe Torre. I'm dying. And because like I grew up with Italians that would like bring whole television sets to weddings and like watch the World Series like when everyone else like was dancing and all the girls were opening gifts. And I was licking shaving cream off the car tires because someone told me they were whipped cream because my cousins are horrible.
Oh,
but see, those things are what make me good at my job because I'm a human being. I'm not just reading. And so I have never gotten a job really from agents. And I've had the biggest of the biggest, and it's broken my heart. Do you know how I always get my jobs? Joe Torre, hey, Nicole, I'm bringing in 13 Yankees. I'll see you in this many minutes. No problem, Joe. Look forward to seeing you. Or how may I serve you? And I wasn't faking it. I wasn't even being sarcastic. And all of the managers that were like 40 in like their tuxedos were like freaking out. Nicole, you don't have a table for 13. It's physically impossible. I never heard the word impossible.
Uh-huh.
So in voiceovers, in life, people could say, you can't do that. Great. Watch me.
Right. And I think, I don't remember what book it was from, but it's a line that always stuck with me was decide to do something and then figure out how to do it. Don't think, oh, I don't know if I can commit to it because I don't know how to do it. Just decide. And then
always say yes.
Right.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because you know how you wake up and you remember things from your life?
Right.
I was remembering Africa when I was in Africa. And I look back on that trip now and I go, how did you do that? I'm so glad I just have faith. And you have to believe in what you don't see. And a lot of people are not willing to do that. Now, that girl that was going to be this huge actress that had way bigger boobs than me, that had violet eyes, looked like a beautiful Elizabeth Taylor, she's not acting anymore. I am.
Right.
And it's like the girl who just wants to put on lipstick at the front desk, even though I'm madly in love with her. She doesn't have that staying power. She doesn't want it bad enough. You have to, you know what I mean? You have to really keep re-choosing it. Don't you think over the past, I don't know how many years that I've been doing this, that like after a while, it's not fun anymore. Oh yeah, but your job is so easy. No, it's not. It's really hard. It's like Michael Phelps now. I'm Michael Phelps. I have to keep figuring out how to top myself.
Right. You have a standard now to.
And that's really hard. And so I gave up the right to do that. And I go back to my principles. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm in Tacoma. Imagine if I thought Tacoma was too small. Tacoma's cool. Every city is cool.
Yeah.
It may not be Los Angeles, but it's just as cool. Because guess what? People live there and you live. And so what happened was this man that directed me, remember when I was a maniac and I was in all these plays? I got cast in The Tempest. And this really phenomenal director, he found out on Facebook that I was doing voiceovers.
Yeah.
And with these Paul Allen grants, he asked me what microphones I wanted. He was coming to me. Here I was this teenager that was like worshiping him because he's this huge local, not Steven Spielberg, local, regular, ordinary person that loved theater and gave me a chance. And everyone told him, David, don't hire her. She's a drama queen. That's why he wanted to. He was like, oh, I want to work with her.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if you be yourself, the right people will find you, whether it's Nicole who found me for Bare Essentials or David Domkowski who cast me in The Tempest. But what ended up happening was because he loved working with me and because he thought I was really, really talented. There was a season in my life, my brother died. I was incredibly depressed. Things were going down and he would instant message me on Facebook and he would say, does everybody down there know how talented you are? And it would remind me of when we would sit at this huge long table and we do this table read for this play that I was in. Now, through this grant, I get paid this amount of money and I get to go up and teach voiceovers. He entrusted me with that. And everyone else gets to come to the workshops for free. You wouldn't believe how cool that was. But then once I was up there, I started booking work. And so I had to record it. And I used to haul all of my gear everywhere I went, like a really obnoxious person. And then I decided other people's money. There's got to be studios around here.
Yeah.
So I'd ask a girl I went to church with. She'd introduce me to this one guy. Sometimes I'd work at his studio. Now he's building guitars. He's kind of broken down his studio. So now he's introducing me to these other two brothers that they know who just happened to have a recording studio in my Uncle Johnny's old garage.
Oh, geez.
So my dad drops me off. He has his, he has his dogs and, he's like full-blooded Italian, hey, what's going on, And so, my brother Johnny used to own this. And I remember this little tiny TV that was black and white that would sit there. And my Uncle Johnny would like have these Levi's. They'd be rolled up with these thick cuffs and steel-toed boots and these white T-shirts and cigarette, And I was like, oh, it was my dream. Love people. Really, really get into imperfect people. Now those guys... Hey, Nicole, there's this producer that I'm working with up here in the Northwest. Can you help her? Another Nicole. Hey, Nicole, the reason I liked you, we're going to go with this girl from Gig Harbor, where I'm from, across the bridge. But the reason we liked you is you weren't mommed out. I guess you worked with Dave when you were up here. I know you're down in California, but do you mind can you do these spots for me? You don't neglect the day of small things.
Yeah.
Everything if you find ways to connect, everything coagulates around you in a protective way. I didn't know how this town worked. I thought, if I just had an agent, it wasn't the big break. And then what I'm doing is I'm deferring any opportunity to be my own broker because I now think that this person has something that I don't have when there's another person like me. So when you go to a voiceover workshop, mine are free. Or I help for people for free. If you go to a voiceover conference, if you're giving all your stuff to an agent and expecting them, that stuff you're giving is power away. And so, I may not be a movie star, but I work in things that are really special to me. And I'm a very, very, very content human being. And I could, put my head down on the pillow every night. I learned this a long time ago. And if I don't wake up, I know when I went to bed that night, I had the greatest life. And if you connect yourself to people, when I really needed it, when David said, do people down there know how talented you are? I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I needed him. But now he needs me to teach another generation how to do voiceovers. And so, and then what I'm trying to say, it's like the goose that laid the golden egg. That one break is just, connecting to people, not networking, authentically connecting. My engineer now, the first thing he says to me on the phone yesterday, and I love these words, but he's like, "You're the boss. You're the boss." I know I'm the boss. I'm George's daughter. Like, of course I'm the boss. Are you kidding me? Forget about it. But then he's like, "I really hope that we can take you to this restaurant, the Wild Fin. It's right down in Reston Way. I really want you to meet her." And one thing that really blows my face off is every time someone's family's in town, or engineers I work with now all over the country doing what I do, they want me to meet their people. Mm-hmm. That's so much better than a big break.
Yeah, because you're introducing yourself to people with no intention of getting paid that day. You're introducing yourself just to make a relationship and
I'm enjoying my life. Everybody is shooting everybody in the face, Joe. We may not be here tomorrow, so why wouldn't I share something? Why wouldn't I be normal instead of, well, all I do is win, and I'm just so amazing, and me, and why don't you come to my workshop? And why don't you give me $2,500 and I'll tell you how horrible you are?
Yeah, every connection, people are trying to sell every connection. Just, I can't tell you this unless you pay me.
You know what I sell? I sell hope. I want to pass down the truth. I want to encourage people that, life does punch you in the throat a lot, but it makes you sweeter if you let it. It makes you so much sweeter. And every single job that I got, I told this to another fellow that I really, really like yesterday, and a tiny example, because everyone's like, no, but how do I get here? And I just get an agent. Okay, well, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars without an agent. Right. And I'm no different than you are. I just believe it can happen. And it's not because that's what I wanted to happen. I have to pay my bills. Yeah. So when I would do these plays, George, my dad, "Hey, Nicole, you getting paid for those plays?" You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he made sure that I had a value. And so there's just absolutely no way that having an expensive microphone and taking a class from a very, very tiny, tiny person who's huge in voiceovers on Twitter, media. Yeah. It's just not going to bring any value to your life or build your business, because it's all these little tiny things that everyone else is way too good for. Added together, that gets me that check.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're saying is the main thing that's sticking out to me, besides you're just connecting with people just to have a good life and just make more connections. But what I love about it is you're saying you're doing something that might seem small to people when you started out, but you're consistent. You've never stopped doing those things. And I used to be a personal trainer had a personal training business for 4 years. And the main thing I would tell people, because they would always want, what's the secret? What's the one food I can't eat? And that I'll avoid chocolate and lose weight. And I'll tell them, really, it's not about the food choice. It's not about the specific exercises. It's about choosing a plan and having a strategy and sticking with it for years. It's not something you can do for 30 days and you'll be good for life.
This is your life.
Right.
The gimmick is being a real human being. There's this cup, I just thought of it, but it's called You Are Here. I got it like a Disneyland.
Disney cup.
And by the way, shout out to Olive and June. Do we love my Manny? It's like beyond. It's like negative space. I'm in love with it. The point I want to tell you is I make other people look good. And because I'm right here. I'm not there. Yeah. I'm right here. And I think that people devalue that because it's not big enough. And so there was this season that I was really down, and I think it's really important to talk about it. It's another one. And do you want to hear this, or are we running out of time?
Yeah, no, go ahead. This is great.
But this is what it looks like. Was encouraging a woman that I know that we used to have the same agency. We both were at TGMD, and at the time it was the Mecca. George De La Hoya was there. He does all the voiceovers for like ABC and Spanish. Don LaFontaine was there and alive. Yeah. Right. Gary Owens, that famous announcer from like Laugh-In that just recently passed, live from beautiful Burbank. Yeah. And this guy named James Garrett, who did all the trailers for Harry Potter, who grew up in Stratford-upon-Avon doing Shakespeare with Albert Finney, Sir Michael Caine, Ian McCullen. And so it's like, how do we get there? We started with where we are. You are here. And I couldn't believe, as like this girl in my 30s, like, how in the world did I get with all these big guys.
Right.
Want to know what? That was the worst agency for me. But I was so relentless, like, this is it. And they're like, we need you. And I'm like, You know what? It was the worst of times and the best of times.
Yeah.
And you know what I realized? All those old guys, they were just a real person that wasn't afraid to be basic and normal. And I was the maniac that was the person that you're describing. You spot it, you got it. Oh, okay. Well, if they just do this and they just do that, then I can have my close up, and then I'm going to be ready for this. And then we're going to do that. And everything is just going to come together because I stopped being myself because I wanted them to like me so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to have all these things that they have. And then one day, another really, really great woman had coffee with me after TGMD blew up on my face and slid down my knee and said, hey, Nicole, Tej is a really great agency for men that are over 65 years old. It may not be a place for a really, really vibrant, sexy 30-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Wow. It's called positioning yourself better. So you can be in an environment of miracles with all these legends, and it just may not be the right fit. And I thought that I lost. You know what? I said goodbye to them. Haven't had a voiceover agent since. I have my theatrical agent sometimes broker some things for me, and she's amazing. But she doesn't get me those jobs. But, you know, the thing about it, but she's my advocate to the union. She can get me higher rates.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that stuff.
Yeah. So all I just am trying to get to is I took someone out to lunch because I wanted to encourage her. Neither one of us had voiceover agents, and I was working, and she wasn't in that capacity, but she's really, really talented and a beautiful person and should be. And taking the time to bless somebody else, taking them out to lunch to encourage them, what it does is it fills your cup.
Yeah.
And so she mentioned this agent to me. Now, in my head, I knew that they weren't big enough for me. But I did what I used to do, which is I humbled myself. And he knew that I knew these casting directors. So he got me in the door there. Now, here's the deal. This kid that I was talking to yesterday, who I love very, very much.
Yeah.
He said, oh, no, I don't need to do that or do that because I go out to dinner. I know that casting director.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They'll just call me in. Those casting directors that know me, they don't call me in until an agent pitches me to them.
Right.
Even though I'm with this person that I don't want to be with, I humbled myself and they pitched me because otherwise I wouldn't get that call. Sometimes they directly call me, but they're busy.
Right.
In a breakdown, it will say, hey, we're looking for this and this and this and this and this. Any ideas? So when the agent picks up the phone, keyword, picks up the phone and says, hey, so-and-so, I think Nicole Fazio would be great for, oh, good idea. They'll bring me in for anything.
Right.
Just because I know them, I can't take advantage of that relationship if someone else isn't pitching them. We need people, local.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was this particular job I went in for, and it was just one of those things that was really, really easy. It was really easy for me to do. I liked the way I sounded. It just clicked. I just clicked with it. It's not always like that, but it was just one of those things. You know what I'm talking about. It's just easy. And so we went and recorded at the studio that I like to record at. And even the guy who owns the studio, who's just amazing, he said to me, you work with these guys all the time? I go, no. You've never worked with them before? Because it was so good. And even the guys said to me, you know, Nicole, your audition was so good, we could have just put that on the air. But we wanted to meet you. So now we're here, let's do some things. They said, we're going to use you a lot. And you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Years go by. Have they used me a lot? Nope. Was the amount of money that they paid me pretty small? Oh, yeah. Did I not complain? Well, I did, because when the casting directors paid the horrible agent, they wouldn't pay me.
Oh, geez.
And then they did a bunch of other stuff and made up a bunch of excuses, but I finally got paid and it was already a small amount, but I just kept going and just, you know, and I have that good work.
Right.
I got an email yesterday from this girl and she says, hey, you know, it was that same project. And even though I'm not with a horrible agent, I really don't know how in the world they got my email information. My contact information.
Yes.
Because when you work with casting people and you work with agents and you're not with them anymore, then all of your work is gone.
Right.
You build personal, local relationships. No matter who you're with, they still can find you. People lose a lot of work, not because they change their phone number. You can't build a basket And by basket, I mean, you need to have 10 to 25 to 30 people on your side at all times. So when this casting director doesn't have something for you, this producer does. When this production company doesn't have something for you, this studio does.
Right.
And so therefore, I'm always cross-pollinating and working all the time. The goose that laid the golden egg, I'm still the farm that's collecting eggs every morning, you know? So that's all that it is the amount of money now that they want to pay me in passive income to do the voice of another thing that's within this brand.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I humbled myself. And when that girl that I was trying to encourage gave me a lead of an agent that I didn't want to work with.
Right.
And it was horrible. That's how I got
something.
that.
Yeah.
And because I'm Nicole Fazio, they can find me.
Yeah.
And so it's like that stupid little thing that everyone puts up on social media. You know, work so you don't have to introduce yourself anymore. I don't have to introduce myself anymore.
Uh-huh.
And that happened a long time ago because I was a voice of Bare Essentials. So then Chaz Dean wanted me to be the voice of Chaz Dean because I was a voice of Bare Essentials. Okay. And that conversational read, I actually created it because I talked to women about makeup. I wasn't reading. And I had that other girl, Nicole, that was really cool that just let me do what I do. And so I think what's really, really important is if you can't make personal connections with people, then you're never going to have access to the momentum that you need to have the longevity to keep doing this. And so it's actually funded my on-camera dream because I came here to be a leading lady in motion pictures.
Okay.
I didn't come here to do voiceovers, but this is my waitress job, and I'm not neglecting the day of small beginnings. And I don't care if I'm 105 years old and I'm throwing an opal off of the next boat called Titanic. I will be in that picture because I'm not stopping. And that's the only way you don't get anywhere is if you stop.
Right.
And so I think what's really important to keep in mind is these tiny local jobs that start off looking like something that's so small that's like beer money that you just like want to throw away.
Yeah.
They can turn into huge things, and sometimes it takes years. And if I just waited for that one job, I would have been angry. I would have been hurt.
Right.
I would have been all these things. But that right there, now I have like 25 of those clients. And that's how you can put all that money together is they call me directly. And the thing about voiceovers is once they start using you, it's like me, now that we know each other, we'll go to each other. Like if I used to live in Santa Monica. So even if I live east now, I'll go to Fault Line Cleaners on Westwood Boulevard because they do my museum quality, archival, acid-free Huda. I know them.
Yeah.
So I'll go all the way back there because I know them because it's easier than just trying somebody around the corner that's going to rip me off and let me down.
Yeah, you already have that connection.
But if they know you, they will keep re-choosing you.
Right. But you have to introduce yourself so they can know you.
And I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm getting fired up, Joe.
That's good. That's good.
No one's going to know you from what we're doing right now.
Right.
This might be a piece that's really, maybe, inspiring or if someone's really bored or sick. But producers are producing. Uh-huh. So whenever they're like, oh yeah, well, we're scanning the internet and we have all of our assistants trying to find the next, great. Congratulations, Justin Bieber. What's happening is they're taking a lot of people. L'Oreal, for example, had to release a girl that was a huge YouTube star with all of her makeup on YouTube. They actually give her a real job. It didn't work. Case in point. Guthrie Ranker called me, San Francisco. They took me off of an ad that I've been doing a campaign. I was like, let's see how this goes. What did I do? I went and volunteered in my church office because whenever I don't have work, I go work, even if it's for free. Yeah. So I mentor people. I go find something to do. Yeah. I go make a sandwich for somebody and give it to somebody. I take some toilet paper I get from Costco and drop it off at a friend, or I just, a human being. Yeah. I get out of my own way. I don't think about myself. I think about others.
Yeah, you're right. So this type of thing, like what we're doing now, somebody might watch it or it's helpful for me, but it's useless if we don't take it and actually go and do it and meet people and use it in the real world. So I think a lot of people watch things or read things and they're like, oh, that's great. And then they just continue doing whatever they're doing. They don't actually start doing the things you're talking, because the things you're talking about are things that are not, people might not think, oh, that's the special sauce, what it takes to become a voice actor. They're simple things, but you've been doing them for years and you've never stopped doing them. And so it's led to all of these jobs that you now have.
That's not true.
No?
When I have stopped, because now I'm with TGMD. when I have stopped, because now I'm better than everybody else, a really big deal, the work stopped.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another little thing about myself if I can find it. I always have like, these are postcards because I'm like really into Istanbul. It's not Constantinople. I'm always have like these stupid little alphabet stickers. This has a point, so just bear with me.
No, it's okay.
Where's my Elvis stamps? The point of what I'm trying to say is personal.
Uh-huh.
You know why TGMD picked me in the beginning? I think I tried over 15 or 16 times to get into that agency. And finally, they said to me when I took that meeting, and then they make me wait a month. It's the passion test. How long can you hold on? How bad do you want this?
Yeah.
Do things knock you down? It's the passion test.
Uh-huh.
They said to me, I don't know who you are, but who are you? Because I can't tell you how many people picked up the phone and called me to tell me the most amazing things about you. I never asked anybody to do that.
Yeah.
But people who own studios, people that had produced and worked with me. Mm-hmm. When I did the thing at TGMD when I first signed, I was able to go out to happy hour with a lot of these women that had helped me. Mm-hmm. I never asked them to help me.
Yeah.
I don't give anything to get something. That doesn't work. No one can sustain that. But I'll tell you something. One of the, I still had to pitch myself. My friend that got me into, wasn't my friend at the time. Remember Nicole, who got me on that one show because I sent in a mailer?
Yeah.
Her brother was with TGMD, really famous voiceover person, really great. He used to be with William Morris. He said, oh, fuck this shit. Pardon my language. That's what he said. I'm quoting him. Yeah. He walked me in the door of TGMD because it was his agency and paraded me in front of all the agents. Mm-hmm. Then I had an opportunity. I looked at the one agent in the middle that I could tell I was close in age with, and I could just tell he thought I was cool. And I thought he was cool. I go, yeah, if you want to hear my work, just go to NicoleFazio.com. He pulled it up right there on his desk and started playing me. And I'm good at my job.
Right.
And then he said, it wasn't just all of that. You're cool. You're like the coolest client we have. Like you send me these postcards and just like your stamp collection, it's like unbelievable. And just like the way you write.
Yeah. Because you were prepared when that opportunity came. I think a lot of people are looking for the opportunity, but they're not preparing before that actually comes. So when you walked into the studio, you're already prepared. But I wanted to ask you about...
but back to, I want to hear you say, it's about being personal. Right. Because all this stuff in social media, there's no personality to it. Mm-hmm. People hire me because of my personality. Right. You were going to say?
No, I was going to say, so I don't have an agent now. And I think that you have an agent now. So I was wondering what your...
I have a theatrical agent that gets me things for movies.
Okay.
Agent.
Okay. So yeah.
I've never made more money.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on that? Is it worth even pursuing voiceover agents at all?
No.
Okay.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
You don't have any clients.
Right. Yeah. You have to build that up first.
You know, these are called paid stubs. Mm-hmm. So I prove that I can do what I can do. When you go into a lot of agencies, if they're worth their salt, because now everybody is a voiceover agent. Mm-hmm. Well, when I got into voiceovers, you could count them on one hand, the people that were halfway decent. Right. And so they wanted to know who your clients were, what relationships that you have with casting directors. Why? Because they want to be able to sell you. Mm-hmm. And what would I do with my stupid postcards when I would do a show with the LA Opera? I'd send it to my agents. Mm-hmm. Before TGMD, this was Abrams, Rubloff, and Lawrence before they went out of business, and now they're just Abrams, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But they didn't know I sang opera. I had to show them because it's show business. Right. So how did Mark then pitch me? Because he told me, hey, you should really listen to Nicole. She's actually doing a show right now at the Music Center of Los Angeles County down at the LA Opera. Yeah. I would send it to Andy Lerner, Radio in the Nude. Hi, Andy. Uh-huh. And it'd be a postcard of me backstage at the LA Opera. Uh-huh. That I made by myself, handmade it on my computer. Like it's like, you know, people call it voiceovers. I call it arts and crafts with friends and snacks. And so I'm always happy houring. I'm always sending my postcards to people. And then when I got this really, really, really big job and I was like another campaign, this is very early on in my career. Yeah. I overheard him say to the people that were there, do you know that your girl that's doing the voice of EXO Communications, you do know that she's singing with the LA Opera. If you don't give people personal opportunities to talk behind your back about you in a good way, right, you don't stick out.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had an agent, it was because I had campaigns. I could bring them stacks of pay stubs and I could say, hey, I work with Vegas USA. Hey, I work with McKinney and Silver. These are ad agencies. Hey, Calmanson and Calmanson is always going to call me in. Hey, so-and-so is always going to book me. These are the studios I like to work at. These are the engineers I like to work with. I already, because I literally mailed people handmade cards.
Right.
Because I made my homemade voiceover CDs that I worked with people to make and mailed them out to people. And I still do that to this day. Why? Oh, nobody does that anymore.
Right. So you're the only one sending it. Yeah.
That's right. So once again, I'm still doing the same thing and it's never worked better.
You're consistent. Yeah.
Casting directors, I'll go into their office. My headshot will be on their, it's called putting a pin in you. My headshot will be on their board. My thank you cards will have tape rolled around them and stuck to their wall. My stupid handmade cards. Yeah. And I wasn't doing that to get called in, but they say no one does this.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's the most simplest thing to do. It costs you 45 cents to say thank you.
Right.
And no one does it because you want to know what? Oh, you know, I sat next to Emma Stone at Princess Memorial Hollywood Forever. And, you know, I ran into Questlove. So I think it's going to happen to me. Okay. You know, that's not really how it happens for me, but I was there too. I'm still going to send my postcards and pretend that I have a garage sale for voiceovers. And I'm glad that all of you guys are really cool, but I'm not. And I need to pay my bills. And so that's how and then what they do is they see if you can be trusted with something. You know, if you babysit babies, they want the whole banana. A banana is intrinsically broken into 3 separate pieces. A baby wants the whole banana. Then if you give him a slice, that's really going to piss him off. Then if you break it apart into the 3s, you know why you don't give them the whole banana? They're going to choke.
Right.
So these casting people, these producers, these directors that are the gatekeepers for your big break, they know that you're going to choke with that big break. How you get there is teeny tiny pieces. And everybody wants the whole banana because they don't know what they don't know. And you give them the banana and they choke. And these people are not jerks. They actually care about you and they don't have time to send you to the emergency room.
Right.
And that's what's really happening. So people trust me. Why? I'm super, super early. Why? I always bring peonies when they're in season. Why? I go downtown to Louis Bottega and drop off boxes of macarons. Why? It's a business.
Right.
It's not my agent's business. It's my business. And so in my business, it's called customer service. Back to Safeway and Point Fosdick Square, when I walked down those stairs to get on the floor of that, you know, grocery store. Right above, I'm landing the plane and then you're going to be able to talk. Don't worry.
No, it's okay.
Get ready. Right above the sign. This is it right here. This is everything I'm saying comes down to these 2 points. Right above the door was a sign and it said this, ready? The customer is not an interruption. They're the reason you're here. And I believed it. Right. So I'd be like this, would you like paper or plastic? I was individually wrapping eggs at Easter time. Couldn't wait. Yeah. And so when I was that, you know, hostess at the Metropolitan Grill on 2nd and Marion, one day our lead charter, she got in a bad accident on the way to work. Everybody, who are they going to look to at that front desk out of all these like 5 babes with their lipstick? Why? Because they knew that I cared. Yeah. And so you want to know what? That same beautiful friend that told me that I needed to calm down, she, you know, I'm getting goosebumps again. She pulled out this stupid little flyer that we get like with our paycheck every week because they'd always have like these like 5-star employees. Yeah. I was the very first hostess and the only hostess in the history of the Metropolitan Grill on 2nd and Marion to ever get 5 stars. They're like, Nicole remained enthusiastic the whole night. Because if somebody knows you, then when they need my type, they know where to come. And if I don't have an agent, I'm easier to work with. They can get me the information faster. Yeah. You know, and so if you don't have a clientele because you haven't built relationships with people that hire voiceover people,
Yeah.
if you don't have relationships with payroll companies and you don't have relationships with engineers, and if you don't have relationships with ad agencies, what value are you bringing to that agency? It's customer service. How are you going to serve that agency? It's not about them working for you. That's why they get 10% and it's 90% is show business. It's your business. It's none of their business.
Right.
And so that's why I'm very, very, very passionate, because when I ran into another dark spot, how did I win in voiceovers? I had a lot of really bad days.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just last sometimes for a summer. They sucked. I've been heartbroken. And my face is like, if the sidewalk's a cheese grater, many, many times. But I come back. And I'll tell you something. There is something very, very powerful about somebody that will not stop. And there's really something amazing about resilience. It's beautiful. And I don't have anything to lose. All I ever wanted to do, my dad get me in the truck, because we were like in construction in my family, to get me to go to Parker Paints, to get me to go to the lumber yard, to get me to go out to Buckley to get some fruit trees for the driveway. It was a George show. He would, Nicole, get in the truck. I didn't want to get in the truck. My dad would say, we're going to California. I was in that truck. So you want to know what? Even if nobody wants to hire me, even if no agency wants to work with me, even if I don't have money that month, I'm in California. I already won. My dream already came true. So part of what I'm saying isn't dream smaller. It's just be realistic and do what you can with what you have. Because when you neglect those small things, you don't have the opportunity to be ever trusted with something bigger. Because if you can be trusted with something small, that was really good. Then they give me a little bit more. They give me a little bit more. That's how I've gotten campaigns. And it's because of one campaign overlapping off of another campaign that my voice has never not been on television for 15 years. It isn't because I marched in my roller skates and said, dun, 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 I'm here, everybody. You know what I mean? Like I just kept my head down because I was just so happy to be in crazy California. So in a really dark season, because I'm an actor, I don't know where my next job is going to come up. Even though I have these campaigns which generate return business, it's customer service. These people are not an interruption. They're the reason I'm here, and I can't expect anybody else to do it for me. And so I'm going to tell you something. There was this huge famous restaurant called Koi. And this is like 10 years later. And I go marching into Koi. It's on La Cienega. The usual suspects. I'm like, Rick Fox is there. Leonardo DiCaprio is there. Britney Spears is on the back patio. Julia Roberts' niece is like chain smoking underage, and I like would take cigarettes away from her. I'm not really, but I'd be like, what's her name? Nancy Drew doesn't smoke, but she didn't care. So what I'm trying to say is, I was like, where can I go? Like I did. Why? This is my thought process. This is Business 101. You cannot replicate an experience you've never had. And so what everyone's trying to do is get this big break, but they've never even had a small one. And so what I'm trying to say, they've never had a big agent, let alone, they don't understand. They're lost. And so in the real world, because I worked at that famous restaurant where I would always be exposed to people that could get me work, I positioned myself at Koi. Guess what happened? I would pass out my business cards. Hey, Nicole Fazio. I didn't care who you were. I didn't care who the publicists were. I was getting paid this little thing and was able to eat really good food at my break. I met a lot of really great people that I'm still friends with. It was really fun. I only lived there, worked there for 6 months. I'll tell you why I did. There's this family, they're called the Judds. They're kind of a big deal in country music. Ashley Judd, when she came to LA, how'd I find this out? My first movie I worked on. Why? I put myself out there as an extra because I wanted to see what it was like, because I grew up on a farm. I didn't even know what that environment was like. You have to put yourself in that environment. So he told me about how Ashley Judd would work as a hostess at the Ivy. And that's how people were starting to call her in for auditions. She's Ashley freaking Judd. She's Madonna, and she's pitching herself to play Ava Perón. When I first moved to LA, I went to Central Casting like everybody. It's a rite of passage. I got cast, on this little show called Beverly Hills 90210. It was Donna and David's wedding at Hollywood Press in town. And I'm watching these guys play chess that are all the series regulars, and they are crapping their pants because their agents have dropped them because their show was canceled. They're trying to put together their reel and everything we're talking about right now. So it doesn't matter who you are. Mm-hmm. If you're not a human being that people want to work with and can trust, you're not going to keep working. It doesn't matter, because those people that you want so bad, those agents, they don't care about you.
Right.
They are not going to be loyal to you.
Yeah.
So here you're putting all your power in the hand of somebody that can't do anything for you if you haven't worked for yourself and you can't bring them something. See, you could say, oh yeah, this is my client David. He's actually taking some classes in New York. You're doing something so they can show, so then they can try to generate business. And so all I'm just trying to get to is this one point. Two quick things, because my ADD went over and so did the coffee, and I'm like Niagara Falls over here. Two quick things. This is really important.
Yeah.
Number one. Remember when I told you that I took that job, and then it was because they had taken my voice off of When by Chaz Dean. Mm-hmm. And I was preventative. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to Africa. I'm building homes for some orphans. This was back in 2007. So if you want to record me, let's do this now. I was very, very upfront. I'm going to be gone from this time to this time in October. I got back and my voice was replaced. I was like, oh, no. Because it's my business. It's my store. Uh-huh. It's my store. You don't take me out of my store.
Right.
So what did I do? I was like, where can I be around people that can help me? As the hostess of that restaurant, I was in charge. Guess who came in to eat days, weeks later?
Who?
Chaz Dean. He was asking me about the candles. He was standing right next to the front desk. I went right up to him, just like Safeway. Hey, I'm Nicole Fazio. Uh-huh. Hey, my name is Nicole Fazio. I actually was your voiceover on your thing, and I'm just wondering, was there anything I could have done differently? Because I noticed I'm not on the show anymore, and it really hurts because I thought I did a damn good job. So what can I do to convince you that I need to be on your show again?
Right.
He goes, oh, you want to do it? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I loved your voice. I mean, these words aren't right, but it's not word for word, but you understand what happened. He's on his way out of this restaurant. I said, what can we do to fix that? And he goes, well, I was told that you were like, I don't know, in Africa. He goes, yeah. I go, I was helping some orphans, with this group called Watoto. It means children in Luganda, the official language of Uganda, because 51% of the population is under 15 years old. That makes them the youngest nation in the world. And with my voiceover money, this is what I do. That's my vacation. And I let people know way in advance that I was going to be gone. Well, yeah, we had something that needed to be recorded and you weren't there. So we just went with somebody else. Yeah. And I said, well, that wasn't very nice. And I didn't like to come home and hear that. He goes, wait a minute, you really were in Africa? Yeah, I told everybody that was affiliated with it. Guess what happened? He not only, when I was back up in Seattle teaching voiceover, he not only called me at that restaurant and gave me all the voiceover for the how-to for his hair salon on Fountain. My voice was back on that show like that. And remember how I told you about how they took my voice off of that show again another time? Yeah. And I was volunteering in my church office because I needed to go to work. I didn't have a job that day. Doesn't mean you have to get paid. That's what it's about with business too. We're entrepreneurs. Yeah. So you can't expect this big break. Right. How you get a big break is working every single day, whether you get paid or not. It's called having a work ethic. It's called customer service. Mm-hmm. How may I serve you? Thank you for calling the Metropolitan Grill. Would you like paper or plastic at Safeway? Right. It's really basic things because we all have needs. And so to make a long story more interesting, I get a phone call when I'm serving someone. Because in order to be truly great, you have to be a servant. What happens? I'll tell you what happens. Hey, Nicole. So this is so-and-so up at Guthrie Ranker, and it's actually Lieberman Patton, which is a production company within Guthrie Ranker. Yeah. People did their research. You don't just target Guthrie Ranker. There's all these different independent and in-house production companies that are under the banner of every single thing that you hear. So if you want to be on HGTV and be somebody with house hunters, if you want to have these voiceover jobs, find out who those producers are. Find out who the subsidiary production company is under the banner of that channel or that whatever, and get to know those people because they need people like you and they don't have time for auditions. But if they know who you are, those the job is called a direct offer. her. Imagine.
Right.
So what I'm trying to tell you, because we can talk about this another time, I think this is going to be our new thing every Friday where we talk about it. And this is just episode 1. Not that you want me back, but I'm just saying, hey, so guess what happened? She's eating crow, by the way, and she's really sweet. Her name is Rose, and I'm in love with her. So we took your voice. You know, sometimes this happens. We work with someone for a very long time like you, and I can tell that she's having a hard time. Customer service. I'm going to make it easy for her. How? I'm going to be graceful. So what's going to happen? Yeah, so we took your voice off of When. I don't know if you know. Of course I do, Rose. So can you get into the studio this afternoon or like in an hour and a half? How fast can you get over to the Valley? Because we have a real problem. The product isn't selling. And so we did a test and we put your voice back on the commercials and all of a sudden the phone started ringing again.
Oh, jeez.
Dun, 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 dun. You want to know what? I am secure. I don't think I'm the prettiest person in the world or the nicest person in the world or, you know, have the cutest, almost, but like or the best voice, but what am I? I am tenacious. I am secure. I pour into other people's lives. You reap what you sow. Because I'm doing this for you, someone's going to care about me. That's how it works. That is business. And I will tell you something. That has happened time and time again. So I am not threatened when they replace me because I know that I'm unforgettable. I know it. I know it. And it's about being graceful because the independent production company that works for Guthrie Ranker to produce these spots, they call it a show because it acts for the length, and we're not going to get into all that. That'll be another conversation, union stuff. To make a long story short, what I will tell you is all my work is union. And what I will tell you too, that's going to blow your face off right now is this. That man that owns that production company that at one point used to be married to a Miss America, that man at 9 o'clock in the morning calls me with his teeth chattering. He is like Bruce, what's not Bruce Springsteen, but like Burt Reynolds. He's like one of those guys that's like a man. Yeah. So it's really interesting to hear him kind of quivering out on the phone to me, just like Rose, might happen. Hey, Nicole, I had nothing to do with this. Chaz doesn't want this either. The client, Guthrie Ranker, they're insisting that we take your voice off. Why? Because he cares about me.
Right.
Because I'm someone that he wants to have coffee with in addition to being the gal that does the voice of every single one of his beauty reads. And why do I do beauty? Because I was a model and I'm pretty on the inside. I understand how beauty works and I know how to talk to women because I'm not one of these girls that hates women.
Right.
Who tells them how to be a mom, who tells them how to like part their hair and you know what they should be doing with their clothes. So it's like, I just accept them for who they are. So when you are a person, some of the fruit of what that looks like is when you're about ready to take a hit, people call you and they're nervous because they respect you. If you expect an agent, if you expect casting, if you expect all this social media and all this exterior stuff to replace something internal, you're going to be someone that they can flush down the toilet because they don't know you. But I want to be known. I am proud of who I am. I am proud of my family who made me the way that I am. And I'm going to tell you something. The person that used to stand on hay and wouldn't get off until I thought the cow was a good enough audience member to me. She's the same person that's in front of that microphone. She is passionate. So what you are in your life, you are in your work. And you can't expect to just do all this external stuff if you're not internally connecting to people, because these aren't anybody it's like anybody you haven't met before. You get to a certain point, you've met all the people. They just have different names.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
No, this has been great. I think the main points are just be consistent, connect with people, and just keep doing what you're doing. And all the things that have led to your success are things that everyone can do. You're just not maybe willing to it. Yeah. That's
what frustrates me is people will spend $5,000 on gear, $300 for a workshop. I didn't work that way because I didn't have it. Right. I put myself through college. I clean my voice teachers' houses. I didn't have the luxury of getting loans from Bank of America or working all these jobs to do it. I had to take what I have. Remember, you are here. You can do something right here. If all you can do right here is smile, if all you can do is reach out like you did to me on Twitter, if all you can do is go into a studio and say, hey, you know, I'm in voiceovers. They don't know who you are. But now that they know that you do voiceovers, you know what I mean? And you know what I'm trying to say? Send them a basket of fruit. I don't care what you do. Make them a muffin.
Right.
singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" in December. I don't care what you do. Pull out your Hanukkah. It's time for Hanukkah, whatever the heck it is with your guitar. I don't care what you do. But that makes you memorable. Right. And the one thing that you have to know is every time you go in, be memorable. I'm not saying be a ding-dong breath that pisses everybody off, but not everyone's going to like you. And just be okay with that.
Yeah. Just keep, this has been so great. So I think.
I just tell one tiny more story, and then I know you're going to edit this out. In light of everything that's happening right now, it's really, really easy not to see that there's beauty in the world because it's really hard. But after 9/11, it was really bad. And so I wanted to be in New York. And so I took a flight from Santa Monica to New York right after 9/11. Saw a whole bunch of new plays. And I went to Paris with some friends for Thanksgiving. And was gone for a while. And it was really, really interesting to me because here I am and I'm doing all this stuff. And my friend goes to Paris all the time. So he's like the perfect tour guide. It was my very first time there. It was 2001. And he took me to this very famous graveyard where like Jim Morrison is buried and Oscar Wilde and all these people. And then there's all these Metro letters and it's being yourself. So on one of my very first website, I said to the graphic designer, I said, I want those letters that's like on the Metro station in Paris. So I remember that graveyard. Well, I didn't know about this graveyard. I grew up on a dairy farm in the middle of nowhere, like in a house my dad built. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? No one in my family went to college. So like, this is a big deal. I got in Paris, France with my voiceover money. So there was this huge sarcophagus. How do I know? Bookworm. We didn't even have libraries where I'm from, but there used to be this bookmobile, this gigantic like food truck, but with books. And I'd be like, and so I knew what a sarcophagus was. Yeah. And there's this huge white slab of marble, and there's like this sphinx on the front of it. And I'm thinking, Oscar Wilde. We didn't have Google. I never knew this before. But I went running to it, and this friend that had been there that wanted to show me never even told me that he was buried there. He let me organically discover people that were there. Oscar Wilde said, be yourself because everyone else is taken. I started off as this young theater actress that was obsessed with playwrights. Become a fan of people. I knew that Oscar Wilde was buried there because I knew him. I knew his work. I knew his quotes before they became something that we quoted on Instagram and they became memes. I knew him. If people know you, they will find you. But if you don't get known and if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable enough as an insecure maniac right now, not enough, you will never be entrusted with something bigger. It's so much more than strategies. And I can break that down too with what I do, but it's about your character. That's the most important thing because they will give you a job like me, even if you don't have an agent, even if you weren't in the union, even if you never took a voiceover class, even if you don't have a voiceover demo. I sent my headshot and resume. They brought me in. Yes, I'm a fast talker. We got that going, but I have some things going for me. But you want to know what? I trained for years in another capacity and I worked hard. So if you're a hard worker and you're willing to just, relax a little bit.
Carries over. Yeah. No, thank you so much. This has been so helpful. And I love how you're kind of inspiring people to do the right thing through stories that you've gone through. So I think it's really helpful to anyone who's watching and trying to build something and basically just do something and keep doing it. And through the stories that you've told us, it's been really helpful. So if anybody has like a question for you or they want to see your stuff, where should they go?
My website is NicoleFazio.com. I'm currently the voice of It Cosmetics, and it's a great product developed by Jamie Kern-Lima. I'm really passionate about it. I still do some voiceovers for when I do. I'm all over television. Like I have tons of different things that are going. But I also, people ever want to email me, they can email me at voiceoverdarling@gmail.com. Okay. And if they want to email me some specific strategies, like I'm putting together some stuff that I can just like send to people, much time as I used to have, but I love to help people and it really excites me. And people that have just done these simple things that I've told you about. Yeah. It was actually only one person. He's been wildly successful and I think he's way more successful than me and I'm so happy for him. So that also proves a point. I help, 3 people for free a week and have since, 2000. Yeah. Only one person did it and he's more successful than me. It shows you people want what they can't have, but they're not willing to do the work to get there. Yeah. They could have it, but they just have to do the work. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nicole. This has been so great. Thank you for talking to me today. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Bye. Bye.